Hello everyone, it is Joe here from Omnipoke, the channel that brings you guys everything Pokemon. Today we're looking at yet another build of Arceus. This one comes to us from LDF Laboratories. Congrats on your recent 25k sub milestone, that's awesome. And speaking of milestones, this absolute stone wall right here is the archetype that he took to a recent top 4 finish. Really just trying to say that Stonjourner is difficult to get through when you pair him with Arceus, and fighting typing with so many Arceus mirrors running around is really intelligent. Max Rockfall does a little bit less than Duraludon, but overall is still doing that two-shot game plan that you go for very often with that archetype. And although you don't have that annoying ability to fall back on, you're hoping that the type coverage and things like Stone Fighting Energy are going to be good enough here as a replacement to Duraludon. So that's really the idea, as we basically copy-paste over the build that you see with Arceus Duraludon. But the few perks that you gain, obviously the type coverage is a big one. Stone Gift is also a big one. It's not a bad second place prize compared to Trinity Nova. It's obviously far, far worse. But if an Arceus is knocked out, you can still try and go the full 8 prize game plan. If you just have 2 Stonejourners down, VMAX them both up, you can Stone Gift your way through the game anyway, so you don't feel pressured to put down a second Arceus in those instances and still have a ton of beef behind you. But also, it means you get to play Path of the Peak. Obviously, Duraludon typically won't do this because against things like Mew, which is the main thing you want to path against, you want your ability to be slowing down their roll and force them into max miracles rather than copying Technoblast and copying Meloetta. But in this build, we're going to try and path Marnie cheese them, whilst also representing decent-sized threats and try and make them have some off turns here and there. That's kind of the idea here. Path of the Peak is also serving a nice purpose because we play a lot of special energy ourselves. It can turn off Duraludon. It's also really annoying for Arceus mirror matches. If we're the player going first, we Starbirth, we path them. They can't Starbirth on their turn very easily. Sometimes they can play counter stadiums, like we play 1 in the deck, just to try and like eventually hit at some point. But it's not really an easy card to find, obviously. So yeah, that's kind of the idea here. Basically saying that, yeah, Path is good enough that we should just be jamming it into even a lot of our Arceus builds. Outside of that, very similar to the Duraludon approach here. Obviously, we can't play Mustard. Raihan is coming in to help us accelerate towards one of our attackers all in one go, ideally. But yeah, basically the trainer lineup is identical to what you'd see in Duraludon. The stadiums get switched up, the energy counts get switched up a little bit. But outside of that, yeah, you're seeing a repeat of the strategy, so it's no surprise that it's not too dissimilar and is able to win a good number of games. So let's jump into the ladder and see how a Stonejourner build can perform in comparison probably to Duraludon. Because I think most people's frustration with Duraludon right now is like, it wins pretty much every matchup but has a really volatile Mew. And I think this will be similar, but you gain some percentage points just by having Marnie Path cheese. And that percentage point will possibly be stronger than the ability that you gain from Duraludon. You know, this is still a new, fresh concept that we've been brought just over the last couple of days, so I can't say for certain, but it may end up having a stronger Mew matchup, whilst having a lot of the perks that we know about Arceus Duraludon already. So if that's the case, then this could be a better partner. So we'll see. Because Duraludon's one of those really weird cards where its ability is great, but it's not like Stonewall winning any matchup. Because most decks have workarounds inbuilt. So going down this route sacrifices that and makes Mew more like dangerous, but at the same time it means we can play Path and try and cheese them. So we see Suicune. I think Duraludon normally has a good time against Suicune, so I'd expect a similar thing here. For the most part. So let's just pass things over. It's annoying that we don't have energy drop, but it is what it is. We gave our opponent a ton of mulligans. We are playing only 7 basics. But yeah, this was definitely an interesting take from LDF. I wonder how far this build can go realistically. We're going to see a Marnie, so no attack from them turn 1 either, which is good news. But we are getting a research hand taken away. Maybe we can get into some V-Star action. No, we can't. No Trinity Charge action either, which is a bit of a shame. So we have the debate now of going like, do we want to completely sack this Arceus? Because 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, if he gets Candy Colo, he can KO us. If I just attach active. Collapse doesn't change the math, but it would be annoying for them. I think I want to use the Collapse at a later point, though. I think I just attach to the Stonejourner here. This is a really ugly Marnie, of course, and that is a big downside of Arceus Straladon. When the V-Star doesn't come together, your deck doesn't come together, basically. Normally the combination of Trinity Charge and Trinity Nova thins your deck of all your energy cards, which makes your deck substantially stronger. But when you whiff, you feel the pain even harder. Our opponent does grab Drizzile, they have their energy, so they're at least swinging into us. Gonna see Belts get grabbed here. Going straight onto the active. And just Rondo, so the hand isn't that strong. Surprised I went for Belt there rather than just getting more Sobbles down, to be honest. We're committed to this line, let's just keep stoning up. We do have a Mega Kick attack option. We all know that I don't want to be taking that option, but here we are. Opponent's gonna get some free attachments in while we don't pressurize. They do have the big Shady. I wonder if they'll opt to Gust here. No, they're just gonna go wide with their board. Makes sense. The prizes are laid out in front of them. It denies a lot of good top decks for us as well. Like Ultra Ball's still good because we could start swinging, but we prefer other cards. The one-off Choice Belt happening into our hand is not bad though, because it means we can knock out Suicunes, at least the active with Belt. They're going to start doing their Sobble Dancey stuff. If I hit Ultra Ball, by the way. Obviously, right now we're not doing the business, but... Right, let's start praying for top decks. As of right now, it ain't looking too great. Well, it's a basic, and I can attack this turn. I should probably also collapse him. Because I'm terrified of them getting multiple Lotad. Let's think about this. They have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 15, 15 to 250. And I'm reducing... I'm just thinking of guard. I think guard press is correct here. It has to be, right? Because I can't... Like, I would go into Mega Kick anyway next turn. Forces the most out of them. There's the argument to be like, oh, I could Hyper Pot next turn and try and finish off with a guard press if I led with Mega Kick. But it's just less living. I don't want to be less living, I want to be more living. They are going to dance. Okay, so they can get a KO this way, I guess. I can play the game. Ugh. It's so painful. Let's start attaching to give ourselves that Hyper Potion chance. They can begin to shoot us quickly, which is definitely scary. I'm not going to quick ball first because all those cards that I'm Marnie to the bottom. Actually, it's just one card, right? So it's actually equal. So I can go up to... Okay. Am I realistically ever winning this game if I don't make another guy here, though? They can't dance next turn. There's the man. So we're at 170, 2-4. Okay, I guess I'm just rock falling. Trying to work our way back into this game. They haven't beaten us yet. Okay. I'm debating how safe it is to do this. They have a 3-card hand. They'd have to go Candy Colo, they basically need to Big Shady, Boss, Attach. It's so much that... Oh, they don't need Attach. But it's a lot that they need to kill us, right? They'll be at 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. So it'd need to be Candy Colo, Boss... with 2 candies played. I want to make the game as few turns as possible, so I think I just hit and keep boss game in hand. I think it's best. We can still lose here, but like the safest play is just knock out Lotad, right? But that extends the game so much, and I think you just hedge on the 3-card hand that you win in 2 turns here. They go up to a 5-card hand with the fleet-footed, but it has to be boss, it has to be candy, it has to be Colo. Bucket doesn't change anything. They might be bucket scouting if they have incense for Big Shady here. Yeah, I guess that's game. If they have the boss. Not my boy. Maybe more patience is required there. Despite such a horrific start, though, we did well to actually get in a turn away from winning. Maybe if I play more patiently, I win more often there. Like, going around the Suicune for a turn gives him a chance to make another Suicune and attach, and then he's, like, always threatening boss on the Arceus. So even though extending the game a turn is, like, good in theory, I think I just have to make him have as much of it as possible in his hand at the time. Actually close there, despite, I mean, we were doing nothing, right? We were guard pressing. But that's a good sign for the tankiness, at least. And I think it shows that if we had any sort of actual setup there, we're probably beating Suicune. Hello. We would like to go first. I was going to say one small downside of not having Mustard is that you start with Stonejourner slightly more often, but in this case we drew a lot of our Ball Search, so pretty happy with it. We see an Icy Boy. One Icy Boy. We have our Collapse, which is really important. Raihan is prized, which is a shame. Let's pass it over. This is a much stronger hand as long as a path doesn't come down turn 1. Even if a path comes down turn 1, I can at least draw 7 cards. Why did they not bucket and use some discard cards? Oh, because the hand is filled with them. Okay. Well, I think in this instance we just win with Arceus here. As long as research gets us either Belt, Turbo, or one of our switches, we win on the spot, right? Because then I can Starbirth the other 2 combo pieces. So happy days there. This puts us miles in front. We'll start thinning the deck. Drawn a lot of our basic energies, huh? Two very poor prize cards. Things you hate to see. But we went first and got to Starbirth and KO a 2 prizer. That's a really strong start. They basically need to put down double Ice Rider. Also, this turn, research means we're not getting hit for Suicune pressure. Yep, there's an Icy Boy. There's the energy drop. We've got some bad news coming for him. We've got some concede coming for him. Yeah. Some slightly stronger prizes this time around. Yeah. I mean, that's just the virtue of Trinity, or sorry, of Starbirth, right? It's a crazy card. Let's get into game number 3. We've seen the rough and the smooth, the difference between a Starbirth and whiffing it, basically. We keep going first, which is Pog. You've seen the no Starbirth, you've seen the yes Starbirth. We keep leading the bad one, but we always back it up with Quick Ball. So that's something. See more Sobbly boys. Prize to Stoneman. Prize to Arceus VSTAR. Hopefully it's not a problem when we're research digging and praying next turn. We have our belts. Rope could be really good as well next turn. I guess I want my one Arceus to last, right? It kind of like puts them off a Marnie for me to play this card, but I think it's fine. It's also limiting that I play this. It means I can't do like belt boss plays, but my hand is not ready to Starbirth boss, right? It's just not there at all. So it looks like we're up against a Weezing deck with like Hooper and Moltres, probably. Oh. Well, when you miss the V-Star, you can at least Stone Gift, which is the good news. It's a shame that we might be Weezing this turn, but it is what it is. We can at least start attacking, right? One thing I didn't check was the Hyper Pot, actually. I'm trying to replay it in my mind. I don't think I saw the card. I can't remember. This is usually a pretty strong matchup for us, unless they tech cards specifically, like Zapdos Echoing Horn. And I think seeing stuff like Weezing probably eats up those spaces, so I think we should be in a decent spot, just by the sheer amount of hit points we represent in this matchup. They're Drizzle dancing by the looks of things. Gonna do the poison stuff. Obviously not going to commit energy, we want to smack through this guy. Okay, goes pretty well. First prize down. If they want to deal no damage to us to maintain the Weezing lock, I'm not too concerned about it because we're holding boss right now. Next turn we can Ultra the next Stony Boy. They really are growing the Inteleon army as quickly as possible. They've got rid of a lot of their incenses though. I imagine they're trying to build up towards quick shooting as quickly as possible. Raihan? They're going for the Sable play early? Wow, okay, so they're bouncing this guy. Oh. They're attacking with this guy. I assumed it was going to be a Sableye play, but not so. They're coming in with the Aqua Bullet. Okay. It's probably the highest damage at this point in the game without putting down a Sableye, so it makes sense. Let's Starbirth. I guess I'm allowed to go down to 160, right? It's bad against Sableye. So yeah, the Hyper Potion is prized, unfortunately. Do I want to get rid of multiple boss just to thin cards? No, I don't think I do. Boss seems important to hold. I'm basically just holding the hand at this point. So, we've made the wall. They've got a lot of damage in early. I can't undo damage until I hit Hyper Pot. The only other thing I can really affect is dealing with Inteleon pings as and when they come down. That's the only thing I can really affect here. Can I see the Clara? They can get back Big Deal Man. And some energies. So they have space for Water Energy, Fighting Energy, Weezing, and Zapdos. Wow. Must be a thin Wheeze line. Like, could even be as low as like 2-2 maybe. Oh, they've already played 2 Weezings. Maybe it's 3-2 at the lowest. Pad E-Switch. What are they scheming? E-Switch is also a card you don't expect too often. There's really not much I can affect at this point. We're just presenting the wall and saying this is too much for you to deal with in 2 attacks. And it may be true, it may not be true. If they can go like Molt here, I don't think they have enough. They need some more ping Inteleon action. They need to be pinging this guy as this guy was coming down. Like, here's the Molt. I imagine they're trying like a Molt Gust play, but they picked up E-Switch, so maybe they're attacking with something else. They can't put Sableye down this turn, that's for sure. Let's see a Clara pickup. We're not going to see that boss play. How do they knock out a Stonjourner from nothing? That's basically the question you have to ask. Out of nowhere, they have one more Stonjourner to boot. With no prep damage, it feels tricky. How much they can get to? They can get to, like, 32? Sounds like the max they can get to. We'll try and dig for Big Charm, just for a safety net. I guess they can do some Echoing Horn things that beat me. That's the thing that scares me most, I guess. We'll hold the energy in hand just in case I need to panic Stone Gift for any reason. There's a Hyper Potion. But yeah, they just can't. They can't reach. Moltres caps out at 300 with Choice Belts and 5 prizes taken. And they have one ping guy. So if they'd been developing ping like throughout the game, we would have been fine. Oh, sorry, they would have been maybe fine. Like, but the fact that they didn't, and we were just holding boss the entire time. We could have been proactively bossing quick shooters had they hit the board. But yeah, that's a little intro into Stonejourner. We had some sort of interesting matchups. We didn't really face many, like... No, we didn't face Mew, right? And that's really the first question on everyone's lips. And I think it's an interesting one, because you're taking away an ability that annoys Mew and makes them play differently to try and just buy a free turn. And sometimes, like, just a free turn wins the game immediately when you're playing this deck, because you're just, like, maintaining good pressure throughout. So we'll see. Maybe this can hang. I think it's super interesting into other Arceus decks. Like, not only are you playing Path, which can just win a mirror, but also you're playing Stonejourner, which can certainly win mirror. I would assume that this is decent against Duraludon. You may have to play the Paths carefully if you are attaching like double turbos and stone energies. You can always up the Hyper Potion count. It's a classic play you can go for in the mirror if need be. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. Is it going to be a new top contender? Do you think it's better or worse than Duraludon, which is really the first question? And how do you find this engine in general? Duraludon Arceus is one of the most popular decks right now, and its win rate into Mew isn't that strong, but its win rate into most other things is really, really high. So I'll hear it all down below. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in another video tomorrow. Cheers.